Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Steve Freeman. I'm Director of Communications with the Arizona Developmental Disabilities Planning Council. Now is a great time to check your audio settings. To activate closed captioning, please select the CC button at the bottom of the Zoom window. To pin the ASL interpreter, click More by their name in the participants list and click Pin. To kick things off, you can go ahead and use the chat function to share a little bit about yourself. I'm going to move into some Zoom guidelines real quick. This chat is a space to share stories, questions, or resources. If you share a question on the chat, it will eventually be read aloud by one of the hosts. Please ask questions during the Q&A portion of the presentation so that we can keep track of them. Assume good faith from your colleagues. We all here to learn together. Please recognize and respect others' feelings, backgrounds, and cultural differences. Everyone has a different experience, and everyone's experience is important. Please use a chat or raise hand function if you wish to share verbally. To raise your hand, click on the reactions button at the bottom of the meeting screen and then click raise hand. If you are on the phone, you can dial *9 to raise your hand. Again, we ask that you wait until the Q&A portion of the meeting to do so. If you are speaking, please speak slowly as we have ASL and closed captioners working with us today, and try to limit yourself to 30 seconds or less. It can be just as courageous to listen as it is to share. And now I'm going to turn it over to Natalie Luna Rose. Take it away, Natalie.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good day. No matter where you are, I hope it's sunny. I am in Tucson, Arizona right now, and it's actually kind of rainy, so hopefully you have got some sun where you are. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us as we celebrate and recognize Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. I am Natalie Luna Rose, Communications and Outreach Manager for the Arizona Center for Disability Law. I am a Latina woman with mid-length hair and wearing glasses today. I am proud to be a part of a team collaborating to highlight the need for broader acceptance and inclusion of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities across the state. Our team, the DD Network, includes the Arizona Developmental Disabilities Planning Council, or DDPC, is the shorthand, the Arizona Center for Disability Law, ACDL, the Sonoran Center for Excellence in Disabilities at the University of Arizona, there's Sonoran UCED, and the Institute for Human Development at Northern Arizona University, or IHD. It also includes the Arizona Association of People Supporting Employment First Chapter, APSE, and Arizona Vocational Rehab. The theme for this year's Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month is beyond the conversation. It's not just talking, it's about action. We've worked behind the scenes the last couple of months and designed a series of webinars to share personal stories and videos, complemented by a robust social media campaign to hopefully get the message out and have you be here today. And hopefully you saw it on either YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Today, we are delighted to feature two local leaders who will have a conversation about bullying and intimidation. As a parent and advocate for youth and young adults with disabilities, bullying is always a concern for me, and I think it's one that we probably all share. We know that bullying affects a student's ability to learn. Bullying is not a harmless ritual or rite of childhood, and students with disabilities are disproportionately impacted by bullying. Our first speaker, Gina Griffith, has spent 3 decades working with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. In 2017, she was honored with the MLK Diversity Champion Award from Scottsdale Communities Celebrating Diversity for her advocacy with individuals with IDD. Gina was named Field Educator of the Year by the ASU School of Social Work in 2021. She is currently the Assistant Director of Community Inclusion with the World Institute on Disability where she is passionate about civic responsibility and strives to make positive change through quality service and supports. She advocates for change, community equity, and works to integrate tools and policies into systems to elevate opportunities for individuals with disabilities to be fully included in our community. Gina is a graduate of the Scottsdale Leadership and has a bachelor's degree from social work from Northern Arizona University and a master's of social work from ASU. She is a current fellow with Leading for Change, as well as a mom to 3 great kids with various needs. Also joining us today is Reverend Nicholas Love. Reverend Love has spoken nationally as an advocate for diversity and social change for 3 decades. He combines knowledge and wit to change cultural perceptions. His fight for disability rights and social justice includes educating people on employment issues for people who have disabilities. Throughout his career, Nicholas has created and managed programs to improve the economic well-being of people with disabilities. He has more than 2 decades of experience in competitive integrated employment, specializing in Social Security disability benefits. As the Director of Community Inclusion at the World Institute on Disability, he works on national employment policies and programs. Reverend Love is a certified community work incentive coordinator and a certified psychiatric rehabilitation practitioner with a degree in holistic healthcare, with a concentration in mind-body transformational psychology. In 2010, he was awarded the Martin Luther King Living the Dream Award for his work with psych rehab and gender and sexual minority advocacy. He was acknowledged as one of the inaugural 100 trans making a difference in America. As a Buddhist reverend, he attempts to meet all people where they are.
Natalie.
Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Our captions are showing up in the chat. So Kimberly, I'm not sure if you're writing in the wrong chat box, but I just wanted to adjust that really quickly. I'm so sorry for interrupting.
Oh no, it's okay. Please let me know.
And Kimberly, are you able to? Oh, there they are. Okay, very good. You can continue, my bad.
Okay, I will start. He was acknowledged as one of the inaugural 100 trans making a difference in America. As a Buddhist reverend, he attempts to meet all people where they are while always trying to expand his knowledge of the world. So I want to thank Gina and Nicholas for joining us today. At the end of today's webinar, we will distribute a brief survey in the chat. Please take a few moments to complete the survey and share your thoughts. We will also have a webinar next week, so be sure to register and join us for Making the Shift, Seeing Disability as Something You Have, Seeing a Disability as Part of Who You Are with Dr. Gabrielle Fiji. And information about that will be going out soon. I know some has been put out about that, but we will definitely make sure if you have not seen it, you will. Now let's hear from Gina and Nicholas on Sticks and Stones, Empowering Youth to Address Bullying Intimidation. And I will hand the mic to them.
Nicholas, you're muted. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much for being here today with us. I'm Gina Griffiths. I am Caucasian and middle-aged, unfortunately. And I'm the mom of 3 great kids, and we have all sorts of different needs: autism, ADHD, epilepsy, lots of stuff going on. And I have had experience with my kids being bullied. I've had experience with my kids being the bully. None of us want to admit that, but it happens. So Nicholas and I are both thrilled today to have this conversation with you all. Our presentation today is going to cover a few different things. We're going to talk about what bullying is. We're going to define it. We're going to talk about why it's important to be strong in who we are and own that, and how that can shore us up against negative encounters. We're going to talk about some other resources and strategies. And then really what we're anxious to do is have a discussion with y'all and answer any questions. And we've listed in the PowerPoint tons of resources and tons of references, so you can have them later on to use as you see fit. So we've sprinkled some quotes from people.
I'm going to interrupt you for a moment, Gina, because I would like to introduce myself real quick.
You should
so it doesn't
do
sound
that.
weird later. So I'm Reverend Nicholas Love. You've already heard my introduction, but I do want to share that I am a beyond middle age, bald, man, beard, facial person. I am a trans male, meaning I was signed female at birth. So there was a lot of bullying in that process. And I'm also a person with a disability. And I am going to be running slides for Gina for a little bit. So she'll just let me know.
You muted fast, but I knew what you were saying. We've sprinkled in some quotes from names that you guys should recognize to make it interesting. So this is from Barack Obama. Hopefully everyone knows who that is. Each of us deserves the freedom to pursue our own version of happiness. No one deserves to be bullied. So things to bear in mind as we go through the conversation. So we'll start with what is bullying. It's fairly simple. It's unwanted behavior that's negative. It involves some sort of perceived power imbalance. Someone is perceiving that they have a power over you, or you have a power over them. It can go either way. And they're being negative and they're being aggressive. It's repeated. That doesn't mean it's not bullying the first time. It just means we know this is going to continue. And it includes a lot of different types of actions, and we're going to talk about all of them today. Making threats, spreading rumors, talking bad, directly saying mean things to a person, as well as some more passive things like excluding people. A lot of the research that we found focuses on youth, a little bit focuses on adults. I just kind of want to say that as we start the conversation, that you're going to see a lot that's specific to youth, but we are going to address adult bullying as well. So there's really three main types that you can boil bullying down to. There's verbal bullying, when you actually say, whether you're using words or some other way of conveying your thoughts and emotions, that would be considered verbal bullying. The research is a little ableist. Teasing, name calling, making inappropriate comments to people. It could be sexual, or threatening people. Those are all considered verbal bullying. Social bullying, when you spread rumors about someone, when you leave someone out, that's a thing we see commonly in kids and adults. We have to be honest that adults do this too. We exclude people from lunch, from parties, from a conversation. And that's bullying, when we're embarrassing people in front of other people. And then obviously we really can be crossing some lines. Physical bullying, hitting, punching, kicking, tripping, even using gestures to make someone feel less than. When we want to talk about disabilities, I think we all realize that individuals, youth and adults who have disabilities are at an increased risk of being bullied. Because remember what we said in the beginning, there's a perceived power imbalance. So it's unfortunately very common for people to perceive that they can have power over somebody who has different needs and different abilities. But again, kids with disabilities can be the bully as well. And we have to be mindful of that. We can't assume that that's not ever going to happen. We want to ensure that with youth, we're raising them to not be the bully or to be bullied. And a lot of times kids who have complex healthcare needs can be especially vulnerable, and it can be dangerous. When we're talking about kids, they don't understand the consequences of their bullying behavior and how they could cause a medical emergency for someone. So it's a serious topic. Nicholas and I both discuss things lighthearted, but it's a serious conversation. Yes.
And I want to bring in the point about bullying with disabilities and the perceived power. That perceived power is not just because somebody's trying to take it from it. There is that ableism in our society that people with disabilities are weak. And therefore, sometimes when people are trying to, quote, help someone with a disability, they're actually bullying them by speaking for them, by not allowing them to speak for themselves, by removing them or even moving their wheelchair or their mobile devices. That is actually considered bullying, because you have this perception that a person can't, and therefore you must. And if you're taking away that power, that is bullying.
Absolutely. And as we mentioned, when you research bullying and disabilities, 98% of what comes up is related to kids. And that is just silly, because I think we've all seen in professional workplaces and settings where adults are, that bullying still happens. I mean, I don't think we'd have television shows if there weren't adult bullying. What would they be about? At least those dramatic ones. So it is estimated that 37 to 45% of adults have been bullied as adults. So it is a real thing, and there's not a lot of people talking about it. When we talk about workplace bullying, it is not specific to any sort of profession. It is just existing where humans are, unfortunately. And then when we add somebody who has a disability in the workplace and the risks of bullying, we're talking about some serious risks. We also have to understand workplace bullying, mean behavior, actual disability harassment, and sexual harassment. And we're going to talk about how some of the laws against disability harassment mean that some bullying really crosses that line into illegal behavior, where if the person didn't have a disability, it might just be considered mean. So folks need to be mindful. You can't just pick on someone who has a disability. I think we all agree that, or we wouldn't be on this webinar. The tactics to overcome bullying, the ways we shore ourselves up, are really the same for youth and adults. There's not a ton of difference, other than kiddos have some other adults that we expect to support them and intervene. We all, yeah.
I'm going to keep interrupting. I'm
No,
sorry,
I
Gina. We're
want,
gonna
that's the whole point.
take a
This
breath,
is what
honey.
we
Take a
do
breath.
all day.
Yeah, this is the conversation part. I want to talk about adult bullying, because adult bullying isn't necessarily directly towards the person. Right. And so I want to share an experience. As a trans individual, people were talking about trans, mocking a show that they watched. And I walked into the lunchroom and the room went silent. And I was like, tell me what you're talking about, because I had already heard it in the halls. Talking about people behind their backs is bullying. And in fact, my bullying at my place of business before resulted in miscommunication and me actually being terminated from my job because of a conversation they said I had, but it was others talking about me. So harassment and bullying can really have a trickle effect, and it doesn't have to be face to face. I'm done.
Thank you for sharing that. It's not easy to share those things. We also wanted to highlight in 2023, cyberbullying. It's relatively new. It is any sort of bullying that occurs over a digital device, whether it be text, social media, online games, which we're also going to talk about in more detail. It can be directed to the person that's being bullied, or sharing information about a person. I'll share a brief story. One of my children was being bullied at school. They created a social media account in my child's name and then posted, pretending they were my child, negative things about my child's friends, which got my child's friends very upset with him. And it occurred over spring break a few years ago. And he went back to school on Monday, happy to see his friends, and it did not go well. And there are serious risks with that. And we had a very hard time as his parents getting the social media site shut down. So there are a lot of challenges and complications. But it's amazing the creative opportunities that bullies can come up with in our new and exciting digital world. Also, the latest trend of doxing. When we get mad at people, not me, I shouldn't say we, when bullies get mad at people, they will publish their phone number, their address, things that can be very dangerous. We've seen it in all levels of politics. We've seen it with celebrities, which can lead folks to knowing where you live and doing some serious damage. It's scary and it's dangerous. So what starts out as lighthearted, what people perceive to be some lighthearted poking fun, can very quickly devolve into dangerous situations for people in a variety of ways. Online gaming is super common. I don't understand it, so I'm not going to pretend like I do. But 70% of kids under 18 play online games. 65% of all video game players of all ages play in online gaming communities. That's a lot of people that are there online. I know my children do it. Again, I don't understand it. It's rife with risk. There are a lot of things we need to do to make sure our kids are safe and even adults are safe. There are horrific news stories about folks getting connected through online platforms, and it spills over into real life. It's very easy for those situations to turn bad. So we need to make sure that we're protecting ourselves as adults, that we're protecting our kids. And we wanted to touch briefly on LGBTQ youth and adults, but there's a lot of youth out there. Obviously, we know people with disabilities are increased risk of being bullied. LGBTQ folks, youth or adults, are at increased risk of being bullied. It's that really easy link to realize how exponentially that risk increases when an individual is both LGBTQ and has a disability. The vulnerabilities just compound, and there are nasty people who take advantage of that. Oftentimes, the overall resource and support community for LGBTQ youth and adults is not accessible to people with disabilities, whether it mean sign language interpretation, ramps on facilities, Braille, all of the different terms of accessibility are often not included. We just haven't evolved fast enough yet. So it puts people at more risk because their resources aren't available. And just informationally, 1 in 3, so over a third of LGBTQ people self-report having a disability. That's much higher than the general population. It's about 1 in 4 for the general population. So it's a growing population, and we need to ensure that we are mindful of that and providing all the great supports. And now I'm going to turn it over to Nicholas.
Great. I'm going to have to stop sharing for a moment because I just realized I'm going to show a video and I don't have the video volume. So give me one moment, please, to do this correctly. All right. So the quote I have here, as we transfer from the wonderful world of LGBTQ+, we are moving into Lady Gaga. Don't you ever let a soul in the world tell you you can't be exactly who you are, because you are born that way, baby. So the section we're talking about is about it's good to be who you are. We have so many people who are negative towards our identity and want us to assimilate or in some cases disappear. And so we want to talk about this aspect, and I want to bring in a video by Mario Bonds. Unfortunately, this is not captioned, so I apologize. But we do provide the link for this. The song is I Am Human. So let me see if I can get this to come up. And I'm going to move it just a little bit forward because it's there.
Forward, not backward. No, we can't afford to let love be destroyed. So close your eyes, dare to take my hand, take a seat with me, and feel I'm human and I belong here. Yes. I belong here. I am human too, and I believe just like you. I have feelings and dreams and a heart that does beat. Sometimes I get scared and these eyes do cry tears, but you could dry my eyes if you act like I'm human. Hey, see me as human too. Black or white, woman or man, whether gay or straight, we should let love conquer hate. So close your eyes and dare to take my hand and take a seat with me and feel I'm human and I belong here. Yes, I belong here. I am human too, and I believe just like you. I have feelings and dreams and a heart that does beat. And sometimes I get scared and these eyes do cry tears, but you could dry my eyes if you act like I'm human. Hey, I am human too, and I breathe just like you. I have feelings and things that I do want to achieve. When fear is alive, oh, these eyes, they do cry. But you could dry my eyes if you act like I'm human. Act like I'm human. Hey, see me as human too. Act like I'm human. Act like I'm human. See me as human too.
This is Mario Bonds. Please know that bullying and abuse is never okay. Please call 800-273-8255 where someone is standing by to talk to you. Join me on Twitter and Instagram at Mario_Bonds, and also join the I Am Human Too movement by posting about your experience and using the hashtag I Am Human Too. Much love to all my underdogs from Mario Bonds.
You see, just like our Black Engineer of the Year, Freeman Hrabowski, I believe we can have...
So I'm sorry, I didn't do the grab your tissue warning. So Mario Bonds is a blind man of color, Black man, and his music is absolutely beautiful. He is a songwriter, a journalist. He is a body fitness model. He is ripped. And he is the father of 3 adopted sons. And so this video to me was very poignant. It showed the bullying. It showed people of color being bullied more. It showed LGBTQ people being bullied. It showed people with disabilities being bullied. And it also had the police interaction of fear and black fear that's out there right now. It's the only way I can describe it. So that's what bullying is. And unfortunately, it's such a huge part of our life. So I just love Mario Bonds. So we've been talking about bullying. And bullying, there's so many different ways to bully. And so how do you face it? How do you address it? So know that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. In our society, we have a belief that we're supposed to take care of things on our own, but we are stronger together. So asking for help is actually a sign of strength. You are not the unkind words that people call you. I know that people are called many things, and we take that and we internalize it, but we are not what people call us. We have to know that the words they say is about their own insecurities, not about our true self. The statement, fake it until you make it, well, this is fake it till you feel it. And that means it's okay not to be brave, but you still got to do it anyway. You still got to say no. You still got to report it. You still got to talk about it. And even if you're afraid and feel uncomfortable, you fake it. And what happens though, when you fake that I'm going to be strong no matter how I feel, you actually become strong. And a moment of courage can cause a domino effect of an impact. One person standing up and saying no can cause others to do the same. I have a guilty pleasure of liking watch What Would You Do on TV? And you often see that people sit quietly until one person speaks up and then the whole room will speak up. And so that's that domino effect. And you need to treat yourself as you would treat others. Would you ever talk to yourself in the negative way? Would you ever talk to a friend in the negative way that you talk to yourself? Would you tell yourself you're ugly and unworthy? You would never say that to a friend. You would support your friend. You would tell your friend they're okay. So when you hear things that make you feel bad and you start internalizing it, turn that self-talk around. Talk to yourself as if you were your best friend, because self-love is the most important love. And never hide the real you. Even if it's different than everyone around you, be authentically you. I spent the first 30 years of my life living a lie of my own identity. And becoming my authentic self helped me find my own internal courage, but also helped others. That comes to turn your mess into your message. I heard this and I thought, oh my God, I love this quote. Turn your mess into your message. Sharing your struggle actually helps others. When I came out as a trans man, as an adult, there was no support. There's still very little, but I shared my message and my pain and actually created the support groups and changed some of the rules and laws in Arizona of how we deal with some of these things. And that's not to boast about me and my ego. That's to say that every little tiny person can make a difference. And sharing our struggles makes an army. Hence why I'm wearing blue combat fatigues today, right? It's a revolution. We come together and we overcome. The shadows are dark, so shed some light on them. A lot of us live in the shadows. We live on the outsides. We need to bring some light into that. We need to help people understand who they are. There are many times children don't even know they have a disability. I find that really shameful. And quite frankly, I spent the majority of my life thinking I was, quote, cured of my disability. And I never really was. And I'm definitely not as I age. But teaching children about their disability creates disability pride. It allows them even to identify that somebody is mocking them that they may not even realize because they don't see their disability, which is a good thing. But the awareness of it allows people to stand up and say, yes, so what? I have cerebral palsy. Yes, so what? I walk with a limp and a cane. So what? This is who I am. Help the person learn their disabilities, because learning their disability is going to help them know what to ask help for and what they need support on. That'll also then let them know when they need support from others to combat the bullying and the harassments that will come. Our world is not kind. Our world is not made for us with disabilities. A simple thing of not having access to a building, if you don't know that you have a right to that building, how do you ask for it? That's societal bullying. Ableism, we call it. I call it societal bullying. We need to help children understand what a friend really is. We have Facebook friends. A thumbs up does not make someone your friend. A little heart doesn't make them your friend. And yes, Gina, 1 second. And if they tell you you're your friend on the playground, it might be because they take advantage of you, because friends share their food and then they take your whole lunch. So we need to explain what a friend really is. Yes, Gina.
And I just want to add to that, I think an important note that our whole system often falls down at is direct support providers aren't friends. They're paid caregivers. There's a huge risk of bullying because of the power imbalance. Like most are fantastic and a handful are not. And those are distinctions we need to help the individuals we support to understand what a friend is, what a paid staff is, and what those other random people in life are. We tend to lump it all together, and that it's not healthy. It does not help individuals have boundaries. I am done.
Oh, that's beautiful, Gina. That's really, really very important. Because in the disability world, sometimes somebody's only quote friend is a person who's paid to be there. And she's right, not everyone has been great. I have worked in group homes where I saw abuse. Day 3 of being in the disability world, I wrote up a whole entire house for abusing the people. Like, we have to explain what friends really are, what it means to be a good friend, what it means to be a bad friend, because good friends can turn bad at times. Accept who the person says they are. If they tell you they're gay, they're gay. If they tell you they're trans, they're trans. If they tell you that they want to be a certain person when they grow up, a profession, whatever, accept what they tell you. Gina talked about how there is an increase of LGBTQ, sexual and gender minority individuals within the disability world. There is an extremely high percentage of individuals on the spectrum who are trans. This is not because they can't understand social cues and therefore don't understand their gender. That's bull. This is about people's true identity, accept who they say they are and what they want out of life. And disability is only one part of a person's identity. Don't make it their whole identity. Yes, we want to have disability pride, but we also want to have individual pride. We want to have Gina pride. We want to have Nicholas pride. We want to have Jules pride, Michael pride. Like, these are important things. Talk about bullying and unfair treatment. We think we're protecting our children from the outside world. We're making them vulnerable. We need to be talking about this. It's very, very important. And if you see it, act. Do not ignore it. Bystanders to bullies are bullies. If you are not standing up for another, you are giving permission for that behavior. Bullying is, yes, Gina.
It's because I can see the notes page and you can't.
Oh, my quote.
Yes.
I think I'm doing it here. Am I? Okay, cool. You're fabulous. Gina and I work very closely together. We become one individual, actually. Bullying is, it's ignorance, it's insecurity, it's hatred, and sometimes it's straight out stupidity. So how do you respond to it? With your ignorance, you want to educate. If somebody doesn't understand someone's disability, You educate. That's why it's important for an individual to understand their disability so they can educate. If a kid goes, why do you talk funny? And the kid goes, I don't know. It could be because I have cerebral palsy and this is how my voice is. Right? I remember my son went to summer camp with a bunch of children who have disabilities and he does not. And he didn't understand why this one kid just didn't speak English. And I said, that is his English. Take the time and listen. And he did. And he was like, oh, I understand him now. And by the end of camp, they were friends, right? So educate. Where there is insecurity, provide support. People bullying because they're insecure, because they got to find their own place, because they got to take someone else's power. The bullies need support just as much as those being bullied. There are reasons why some children bully because they don't know how to have a kind relationship or conversation because that's not what they get at home. They get yelled at, they get put down, they get told they're stupid. How else would they behave to other humans if they don't know? So bullying is not only supporting those being bullied, but the bully, finding out where the bully and where it's coming from. Hatred, God, only thing that conquers hatred is loving kindness. There are people who truly do hate. There is a lot of laws right now in our country and in Arizona trying to be introduced that is all about hate. And unless we do loving kindness, it will continue. And when there's stupidity, you can't do a damn thing about it. Somebody's just straight out stupid. That means they have refused to be educated. And those are the people you ignore and don't waste your time with. And so Gina said, I have a quote. I am a Buddhist reverend, so I'm bringing in Buddhist, which is not a religion, it's a philosophy. So the Buddha says, conquer anger with non-anger, conquer badness with goodness, conquer meanness with generosity, conquer dishonesty with truth. That's really what we do is we share and we support. Because strong people lift up others while weak people put them down. I think it's you, Gina.
Awesome. We're just going to kind of talk because we definitely want to have time to have a conversation with you all, but we're going to share some of the resources and strategies. And I think most importantly is what Nicholas just talked about. It's kind of how we can coach ourselves internally to respond. So we have prevention. We want to prevent bullying all around. We don't want to respond to someone who's been bullying. We need to talk to kids. Like they're going to grow up. We need to explain to them from a young age, like Nicholas talked about with his child. He had to explain, look, this is why it's happening. Get to know the person, move past it. A different parent may have had a different response, and that whole situation could have turned into torment for the child who had a different way of speaking. So we need to educate kids around us, yours, your nieces, your nephews, your friends, whoever's. Be a good role model. Model the kindness, model the respect. Give all kids an opportunity to do things to build confidence, because again, that shores them up for when something bad might happen. And they're like, no, that person's saying that I'm X, Y, and Z, but I know better because I'm really good at the piano or whatever it might be. And we really need to encourage open communication. I don't think we're good at that as a society. We need to tell people if they hurt our feelings. Sometimes people really don't realize that what they're doing is hurtful. We can kindly tell that to people and help them to realize, oh, maybe I need to not say it this way next time because I'm being hurtful. Most of it's about being honest and open and talking about it. How often do people talk about bullying? Not often, but how often do they experience it, right? So again, so much of this is geared towards kids. We are going to talk about adults. When there are children in your life or people that you feel might be at risk, Have conversations regularly. Don't wait until something bad has happened and then turn around and say, okay, now I'm going to tell you how you deal with it. Be proactive. Make these a part of our everyday conversations. How was your day? How did things make you feel? Tell me about what happened. Tell me how that felt. We need to have real engaging conversations with everyone in our lives. Your partner could come home from work and you can tell they're upset. What do? Like, let's encourage the communication and be supportive. Much as when my child has experienced bullying, I wanted to yell and scream and call someone's parent and pitch a fit. That's not really going to be productive in the long run. We have to stay calm. We have to stay supportive. We have to focus on the positive. Taking negative energy and spinning it up into more negative energy won't help the situation at all.
And when you're talking about this open communication, Gina, it's not just about the bullying. If you can actually ask someone about their day. Now, I know my child is not a sharer. Getting information out of him is like really, really, really hard. And so we actually are like, tell us about lunch. What did you do? What did you eat? What did you do in this class? And we go through, he's in high school. We go through every single class. Like, because when you come home, how was school? Fine. What did you learn? Stuff. Nothing. Right? Children don't communicate because we haven't taught this open communication. By sharing and asking questions about their life, asking questions about your partner's day. When they look ticked off, don't just ask why you're ticked off. Ask about the whole day. Because what that does is it shows that that person has worth. You care about that person. And if you care about that person, they'll have that internal feeling of worth. So if you ask your child about specific things in their day, they will start telling you and start feeling important. And then they'll feel that they can come and tell you things because they expect, if they come and tell you they got bullied, as my child did, they would expect me to explode. And so they don't want that. So they don't share. And it went on way too long. So keeping the communication open actually allows for your child to come to you when things aren't good in their life, when they are damaged. And what if it was beyond bullying? What if it was harassment? What if it was straight out abuse? You need to have those open communications. Go ahead, Gina.
And I'll share one of my kids, Jules, I'll tell you who later, recently in the last few weeks came home with one of those little I got in trouble at school slips. And I said, what did you do? And he did something that he thought was hysterical. He and his friends thought that they were playing a prank and it was very funny. And obviously it wasn't. He got a discipline slip. And I looked at him and I said, honey, you bullied that kid. And he was like, I did not. I was playing a joke. He's 12, 11. I don't know how old my own kid is. He's 11 and a half. He truly didn't understand. Him and his friends thought they were having fun. But I explained to him why what he did was not okay and how the other, and it really opened his eyes. And then he felt terrible because it was not what his intent was, but he needed to learn. So self-advocacy and peer advocacy, all that we've been talking about with people being engaged in activities to build their confidence, having open communication with us. That's for individuals to be strong and be self-advocates. It is also necessary to have peer advocates. There are structured programs, playground buddies and the like, where peer advocates exist to help kids stand up for themselves, or at least to go tell the teacher, to make them feel more secure because they have their buddy. It's the same in the workplace. We all have our friend in the workplace that we vent to when we're frustrated by things, or text during the meetings, Nicholas, and I never do that, to vent our frustrations, right? So those buddies help build us up and bring us strength and help us deal with situations. And when we know that this is happening, something's recurring, We have to inform the people we need to inform, and we have to plan intervention strategies. We practice, we role play, we do what we need to do so that the person impacted feels confident and has the skills to respond appropriately and not make the situation any worse. I'm gonna start talking faster because we want time to talk with y'all. Cyberbullying. Know what communities your kids or anybody that you're working with or your partner or whomever, know what communities they're involved in. It's almost like when someone comes home from work, what happened in your game? Who did you interact with? My kids talk to strangers. I don't like it. And I have a lot of strict rules about not sharing information and not sharing their real name. I know they follow those rules because I've drilled it in. My kids are older. Check privacy settings if someone's younger and needs that level of support. But again, the open communication and the dialogue is really the key. These are tips. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so with cyberbullying, so the way that my child actually started creating friendships and learning how to do that was through his online gaming, because these were his friends. I'm like, you don't know these people. This could be a 40-year-old man, and he was gaming, at 12. And I was like, that is not okay. That is not a friend. That is a person who happens to be in the same room you're at. And you've got to be able to make it very clear. But that's how he thought he was creating friendships.
And I think kids right now, today, where we are with technology and post-pandemic, kids, especially those with social anxiety disorders, I got one of those, autism, I got one of those, they feel more comfortable online. And they've been online for so long, they often don't know how to talk to people in real life anymore. This is how kids hang out, is on these games and platforms. So we need to be vigilant because we're not seeing, it's not a string of kids coming in and out of the house that we can kind of see and monitor and talk to and get a feel for. Workplace bullying, harassment, and discrimination. The first thing, tell the bully to stop. Again, maybe they don't realize they're bullying. Maybe they do. You need to make them aware. You want documentation. You want to save all your documentation. You need to report it to whomever is appropriate. If you're being bullied by your supervisor, obviously you don't report that to your supervisor. Don't sign something if they come and say, hey, we investigated, sign this, because you might be signing away some rights that you have. So don't just sign something that they've asked you to sign. Make sure that there's a harassment policy in place. If there's not, you ask for one. If it gets really serious, you might need to seek help. And although I hate to say this, there are just some unhealthy working environments. So you have to hit a point where your well-being is above anything else going on. There's a lot involved in that. Don't just go out and quit your job. But if it's serious enough, you have to take care of you first.
And I do want to point out on that signing documentation. That is why I was fired, because I refused to sign the documentation. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't accept wrongfulness because it was not something that happened. So be careful.
Yeah.
Let's talk federal laws.
Yes. So bullying becomes discriminatory harassment if it's based on race, national origin, color, sex, including sexual orientation, age, disability, or religion. And because I want to be really clear, that does not say gender identity. That is still not a protected class. So be aware of that. If someone has committed a crime or threatens a crime based on a protected class, it's a hate crime. So I think one thing we're not aware enough of is children with disabilities and adults with disabilities in the workplace. Sometimes we brush things off, even as employment advocates. If you know us from employment advocacy. we want people to have a successful employment placement. And, you know, I've heard people say, you got to be tough. You got to let things roll off your back. Well, not necessarily. It could be a criminal activity that they're targeting you for having a disability. And that's unacceptable. In Arizona, we do have some very vague laws addressing bullying in schools. They're not very strong. They say that school districts have to prescribe and enforce policies and procedures with certain components. So all school districts vary, and we don't have a lot of protections at the state level. It's just something we need to know. If you are working with school age kids, or you have school age kids, find your school district's harassment policy, know what's in it. And if you don't like it, advocate for change.
And I want to share that this week alone, there was a groundbreaking case in Greenville, Connecticut, where a high school student had been bullied throughout middle school and then again in high school. And this child took their own life because of the bullying. The family sued the school and was awarded $5 million for this. This is the largest award that has ever happened due to bullying. And it does not bring their child back. His sister is now being a bully advocate out there. The school had a policy. They had a really good policy. Policies mean nothing if they're not put into action.
Absolutely.
We have a bunch of resources where do you want to say something else, Gina? I'm sorry.
No, go. You got
Okay. So we have a bunch of resources we put in here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the majority of our information came from stopbullying.gov and the dosomething.org. These are great. The dosomething.org has several different causes, one of them being bullies, which actually have projects and programs to talk about bullying, to create support groups, to be able to create social groups for individuals. PACERS, which is the National Bully Prevention Center, is all about disability rights. We had Student Action Plans Against Bullying and the Validation Project. We included Best Buddies International, the Arizona Sexual Violence and Disability Network, which Gina is part of, and the Anti-Bully Alliance out of the UK, which has really good resources. Would you like me to do this one?
Yes.
All right. So, unfortunately, last week we lost our mother of disability rights, Judy Heumann. So we thought it was very important to include her into this presentation. She says, when other people see you as a third-class citizen, the first thing you need is a belief in yourself and the knowledge that you have rights. The next thing is you need a group of friends to fight back with. Judy was a feisty, that was her word, disability advocate. And so we want to be able to raise not a whole bunch of little Judys, but that would be a beautiful world. We want to be able to help people realize when to stand up, when to roll into action, when to move forward to deal with disabilities and bullying. Judy was bullied. She did not see any rights for us, and she fiercely went forth. And that's what we hope we can build out of our next generation. That brings us to questions and discussions. And there is like a ridiculous amount of questions in there. So, Natalie.
Yes. Mr.
What do we
Love.
have?
Okay. We have a few. A lot was more just sort of comment,
Okay.
but this is from Michael Leva. Are teachers required to report bullying if they observe it at school?
Yes, teachers are considered reporters. Teachers are to report any type of violence or assaults. If they see abuse, they are to report it. So all teachers do that? No. do some teachers, particularly in middle school, say, oh, that's helping the kids build characters, boys will be boys, and other horrible quotes like that? Yes. But they are mandatory reporters because bullying can escalate not only into violence and to hate crimes, but as we talked about, bullying isn't always a result in taking one's life, but there is an increased risk of someone taking their life when they don't feel that they belong on our earth. That is why one takes their life, when they feel like they don't belong in, or that the pain will never end. And bullying, this is why we named it Sticks and Stones. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me is complete bullshit. Okay? Words are more dangerous than weapons sometimes because the words go deep. I was bullied as a child. I was a bully. And I became a bully because I didn't want to be bullied. So I know the scars that I have as a child that are still in my adult life. And I also know the scars of the child I bullied because I saw him as an adult. And as an adult, he ran away from me. Okay, so I damaged another human's life. And that is something I also have to live with, those scars.
Okay, so a follow-up to question from Z. Who are teachers required to report to? The administration, to the police?
Depends on the extent of the situation. If you report bullying to a police, they're going to ignore it. But most schools are supposed to or should have a resource police officer on campus if it needs to go to that. Administrations are the first place things are reported to. While it's not mandatory, engaging maybe in a school counselor is letting the school counselor know that you have witnessed this child and perhaps that school counselor can bring someone in. Gina, do you have anything else? You're an active parent. A very active parent.
I think it depends on the districts too, the policies.
Yes.
Okay. Next question from Emily Parker. There was a reel going around social media of a mom that was posting pictures of a transgender woman who is a teacher in the Mesa School District, trying to rally parents to talk to the school about firing her. You might have said it, but are there laws to protect teachers from this type of harassment from parents? Most parents are incredibly supportive. Most of the parents are incredibly supportive, but I was curious.
No, there are no thing. And in fact, schools can fire teachers for their social media. Some districts have a moral clause. My spouse is a teacher and had to sign a morality clause, so they don't even go on social media. Transgender is not a protective class anywhere. And in fact, it is a class that is completely under attack, particularly in Arizona. They are trying to make laws that we cannot even use people's preferred pronouns in the classrooms. We are banning books. We are saying we don't want drag shows. What the drag shows are actually saying is that we can't have people dressed in clothes of the opposite gender on their birth certificate, which means I would be actually a felon. So there is no protective class. What that parent is doing by outing that transgender teacher is bullying. It's actually harassment and could be considered a hate crime because they are putting this person at danger. And if this teacher became injured or killed, I would actually fight for that parent to actually have involuntary manslaughter. And that has happened in other states. Arizona, probably not going to happen here. More progressive states, it has happened and it has been tragic.
And I'll expand a little bit on that because I have a child who is transgender and on the autism spectrum, and I'm very involved in the rights fight here in Arizona, and it has gone to school boards. School board members are being attacked, teachers are being attacked, the doxing, the sharing private information, school board members having people descend upon their homes. It's a real scary thing that puts a lot of people at risk. Scottsdale is the only city with a non-discrimination ordinance that includes transgender people, but it still allows for religious exemptions. So it really doesn't include transgender people. And it's a civil rights issue that somehow is not getting the right attention that it needs, and having people come to support it. So teachers, kiddos, our individuals, folks who have developmental and intellectual disabilities are all at incredible risk because of the manufactured outrage that transgender people exist.
And I'm going to add something. We've just released, due to our superintendent, the Empower Network that is supposed to be all parents' rights and allowing parents to report on teachers. That is actually opening up for harassment and bullying, where teachers are going to be fearful to even speak out or support children. Not just trans children, not just gay children, but children with disabilities. Your children, the children that are on here, young adults, we can't protect them if we have people saying that we're fighting for parents' rights. And in fact, what that's doing is assimilation of everyone must be the same and teach and speak the same way, which does not allow for the uniqueness and individuality that comes from the disability world. The disability world is the largest minority in the world. There's 1.3 billion people with disabilities in our world. Yet we are continually not brought into discussions or shared rights. We still are fighting.
All right. Thank you.
There's a question from Kenya I see here about the first steps of changing the laws and hate crimes in the cities where you live. Get involved. Do not passively wait until there's a bill with a number attached to it or it's on a voter's, because this thing on parents' rights is really going to look great to everyone. Oh, parents' rights, they should all have a right. It's not, it's discrimination in disguise. And so we have to be involved, know what's happening, know your legislation, know what's going on in your city and state, and speak up. That's what this is. There is a country right now, unfortunately, as we're talking bullying, and I don't want to get political, but our world is full of allowed bullying right now. We have never had such an incredible outpouring of straight hatred and bullying from adults and children in our society. And it seems like it's acceptable behavior. We must all stand up when we see something that is not the way we want our world to be. And everybody has a right to their opinion and a right to their choice of how they want to choose to live their life. And the moment you interfere with someone else's right, it actually becomes a bullying approach. So that's something we need to really look at. Bullying is rampant in America right now. Fighting back can lead to escalation. Stop idolizing this in a dangerous way. There is a way to fight without being aggressive. There are ways to be able to respectfully speak out. This is how we got the ADA. This is the Americans with Disabilities Act. We didn't just sit there and say, okay, we fought. The word fighting isn't always physical. Fighting means educating. Fighting means being visible. Fighting means talking out. And so you don't want a child to fight back. You want a child to speak up. You have to understand the word fight isn't an aggressive word. Fight is a positive word meaning change. It's not about aggressively going out and attacking. It is not about putting oneself in danger. It is about educating and speaking out. That is what the word fight means. I'm sorry that you think people suck, Betty. They don't. We're good humans, Betty. Come on, you're a good human. So what else do we have, Natalie? Natalie has put in take our brief survey.
Yes, so please take our brief survey. We have a few more minutes. We've got about 3 or 4 more minutes for questions. If we don't, we can wrap up a little early, but this is your opportunity to ask Gina or Nicholas.
I see a
Anything?
question from Michael that I think we missed. Children that have been bullied tell their friends, and I think that depends on the child and their friends. Not all kids have friends. That's part of the problem, and where their confidence is. So I don't think there's a right or wrong, like a statistic to say. I think that's just kind of very individual in different situations. And Betty, I'm going to say that don't be discouraged. Like, this is all what's out there. It is the reality. But how many people are here today because we want it to be better? And how many people wanted to be here and couldn't? So they're going to watch the webinar later. Like, we're all in this field because the world's not an equitable place. If it was universally designed and accessible, we wouldn't all have to do any of the work that we do because it would all be done. So we have to know that we have a ways to go. But how many of us want to make it better? How many of us show up every day to make it better? So don't be discouraged. I think if anything, be empowered that we have this strong community that is looking out for individuals who are perhaps marginalized or disenfranchised and need us to help stand up for them.
It's very important. I mean, things can escalate, yes. And I'm seeing this in the chat box. There's discussions about escalating and fighting and calling people Karens. By the way, calling people, quote, Karens could be considered bullying to someone named Karen. I'm just saying, we got to watch how we talk. But we need to just realize that we are coming together. Right? We are one, and we each can be the change we want to see in the world. And by standing up or being present, visible, allowing individuals to know that they're seen and that they have value. That's what this is all about, is being seen and having value. Because when someone sees their own self-worth, the bullying isn't as impactful. The way if I'm insulted now, it is I respond very differently than when I was insulted when I first came out. When I first came out, yeah, I was a fighter, physical, right? And now I've learned I can fight through love. Like I said, you shed the lights. When you see something that is dark and ugly, the only thing you can do is share love and light. And by sharing and talking to kids and adults about what is bullying and what is going to be acceptable behavior and what is non-acceptable behavior in our society, we are able to create the society we want. And you do it with loving kindness. Sometimes the loving kindness doesn't work. You know what you do then? You keep going. Because eventually your light will shine and the 76 people on this call will share their light and their light and their light. And what eventually happens is those who are sharing the hate and dark end up being overflooded by us, and their voices get dimmer and dimmer until we have change. That's what we're asking for.
And I think that was beautifully said, Nicholas. We want to recognize standing up doesn't necessarily mean the moment something happens, we're responding. That's an option when it's safe and when it's okay. It might mean that you're going home and telling your parents. It might mean that you're telling a friend or a trusted adult at school. It might mean that it was your boss bullying you. And you know what? If you stand up, you're going to get fired and you need your paycheck to live. So it might mean you're going to just gather some documentation until you can share it with HR. What I think we mean by standing up is not just passively taking it in perpetuity.
Okay, well, I think we're going to stop here. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, especially Gina and Nicholas. This was a wonderful presentation. I think you've got a lot of people thinking and talking and hopefully bringing this conversation back to their communities and their people. And there was a question from Michael Leva. Can this presentation be shared in schools?
It's up to the school, I guess.
If the DD has recorded this and they share it outwards, I don't see how we could stop anybody from sharing information and knowledge.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure this presentation is available for those who want it. Just want to remind if Steve or Jason could put back in the chat to take our brief survey. Just a quick link, just a couple questions. We'd really appreciate it. Just as a reminder, we'll have a webinar next week, so be sure to register. If you have not seen the link for that, it will be out on social media. And if anybody has a link for that one and wants to put it in the chat as well, you can join us for Making the Shift, seeing disability as something you have, to seeing disability as part of who you are, with Dr. Gabrielle Fici. And we will have a very exciting one in April. So we hope to see you soon. And if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us here at the DD Network at any time. So I'm going to be signing off. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next week.